Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where today we are taking a look at the tank trade-in event that is running from the 25th of March to the 1st of April. So how does this event work? Well, cutting through the jargon here, from the 25th of March to the 31st of March, okay? Yeah, I guess that's the same thing, roughly. You can trade in any of the premium tanks you own from the trade-in list. Keep in mind there are two lists. Anything you own from the trade-in list for 50% of its value, then you can take that value, that same value, to help you get any of the premium tanks from the trade up list. So if you've got a tank that's worth 8,000 gold, you can trade it in for 4,000 gold and you will get 4,000 off the other tank that you want to pick. So let's take a look at these lists. Skipping past World War II because I cannot comment on those right now. So this top list is the trade-in list. So you need to own these tanks first. So you need to own the T95E3, which is a very capable Era 1 premium tank. I personally would not get rid of this thing. It's a good tank. Conqueror Mark II. This is an Era 2 heavy, which is marginally, and when I say marginally, it is a hair's breadth worse than the Tech Tree Conqueror. You get the nice economy boosts here, and you do get this very, very nice 3D skin. Conquerors in this game aren't the best. They have good guns, but they do get outplayed because they're quite slow, and Era 2 is pretty quick right now, especially with the Weasel being what it is. So, despite that, I would lean towards keeping that one. The Weasel Toe. Again, everyone knows this one. This is one that is just very good. Very sneaky, hard hitting, especially with the gold ATGMs, and you've got a very nice silver boost there. I would personally keep the Weasel. MBT-70, again, Era 3 heavy. This has got ATGMs, it's got the main gun, it's got an autocannon. This has got a bit of everything. It's just as fast forwards as it is backwards. This is a nice tank, and it's got a decent silver boost, decent tank XP boost. And you've got a little bit of a crew XP boost there as well. I wouldn't throw that away, personally. Type 80. Now, this is a bit of a hidden one. It's not all that different from the Tech Tree Type 80, but this does have surprisingly good turret armor. And if you've got there's a challenge that comes around in the game every now and then when you need to block damage in a medium. This is one of the tanks that you can do it in because the turret armor does hold up surprisingly well. So again, that's a unique one that I personally would hang on to. T72 Ural. It looks interesting with the side skirts deployed. That's what it looks like now in game. Didn't used to. But this one has been power crept out of Era 2 slightly. This isn't brilliant, and you've got a mediocre silver boost, but it is a crew trainer. So take that into account. If you've got this, take that crew boost into account. Alright, the 477. Everyone knows the 477. It is a very powerful tank until you start slapping it with high explosive at the front, and every 477 driver then suddenly loses their confidence. But it does have a nice silver boost. It's got a mediocre crew XP boost. It's not slow. It hits pretty hard. And it's got good penetration. Again, I wouldn't be looking at trading this one in personally. The 122, again, this is another one that I'm looking at this thinking, I wouldn't trade that in because it doesn't have the best penetration on standard rounds, but it does have ATGMs that can hit relatively hard. That's the low end for ATGMs in Era 2. But again, this is a crew trainer. This is not a bad tank, and it's got a mediocre silver boost. This isn't one I'd be getting rid of, personally. Era 1, T100, this is a tank destroyer, which does have... It's got a good gun on it. It does have a good gun, decent pen, but it lacks in gun depression. It really struggles with gun depression. But it's got that silver boost on it there. Not 65, but it's 55. Again, this is one that I wouldn't be getting rid of, personally. And finally, the Magak 5. This is, it's a Magak. It's got that spaced armor at the front. This spaced armor here doesn't extend all the way down the front plate, so you still can penetrate with ATGMs at the front here if you aim aim for the right weak point. But this can be effective against ATGMs, surprisingly effective. So again, if you've got this, it is an independent medium. There aren't many independent premiums, and it's a crew trainer. So again, I don't know if I'd be trading that one in. So those are the tanks that you'd have to own already. What can you get if you trade them in? Well, the Marder VTS1, and this tank, it's just not very good. This is not a very good light tank. I wouldn't, anything on the list that you do have to own already, there's nothing on that list I would trade this for. I just wouldn't. It's not a crew trainer. It doesn't have a silver boost, and there are light tanks in Era 2 that are way better than this one, like miles better than this one. I wouldn't trade anything for the Marder VTS1. Again, Vickers MBT, this is another interesting one. You don't see many of these about because it's just not that great. It's not terrible, but again, it doesn't excel, doesn't have a great silver boost. It's not a crew trainer. This is just another, yeah. I wouldn't trade anything from that top list for this one. It's a medium. The WZ122 is a medium, but that's got ATGMs. It's a crew trainer. I wouldn't give up the WZ122 for this thing. Absolutely not. This is not worth getting, in my opinion. The only thing on this list that I will say, we haven't got to the rest yet, but the only thing I would say that is worth it on this list is the Jaguar 1. This is a very good Era 3 tank destroyer. It's ATGM only, but this is not one that I consider to be broken or overpowered or toxic, because it's got good concealment, but this vehicle is quite large. It's an easy target to hit, so if you want to do well in it, you have got to be smart about how you play, and you've got to be good with ATGMs. It can be very effective, but it's also a very easy target to hit once it's spotted. So if you do trade it in for this, trade anything in for the Jag 1, then keep that in mind. It's a skill vehicle, and it's got a very nice silver boost on it. So of all the tanks on the list, this one is probably the one worth getting. Next up, the WZ1224. This again was a season reward vehicle, I think from a year or so ago. It's not terrible. It's not great. The turret armor, it's got extra turret armor on the cheeks here. It's not great. It's not terrible. But again, if you want a medium in Era 2, I'd still play the WZ122 because it's a crew trainer. This isn't. Doesn't have the silver boost either. It doesn't have the unique ATGMs. This is, again, not one that I would trade anything else for. And that's a trend that kind of continues because we've got the Object 934. This is listed as a light tank, but it plays more like a medium. The ATGMs do hit harder than the WZ122, but you only get 4 of them in this thing. The WZ122 gets 8 ATGMs. So it's like, do I trade anything from that list for this? Like, I kind of wouldn't, to be honest. And then again, the T100 shows up on the list again. The only thing I can think is you trade for the T100 if you're bored of playing Era 2, Era 3, Era 3, Era 2, Era 2, Era 3, Era 2. I mean, if you want an interesting tank destroyer that's Era 1, you could get rid of the Type 80 if you've got it. You could get rid of the Conqueror because you've got the Tech Tree Conqueror, but I mean, really? There's not a whole lot on this list that I would trade anything for. The only thing I would trade for is the Jaguar 1. So if you guys have any of these tanks here and you don't want them, then trade them in for 50% of their value. So if we were to do that right now, say you don't want the Conqueror Mark II, 11,000. Okay, so we're looking at 5,500 silver. Go down to the Jaguar 1. Take 5,500 off of that. You get 8,500. Getting a Jaguar 1 for 8,500 gold. That's not too bad. That's not too bad, because you'd be trading or in this case you'd be trading the Conqueror, which is not a great silver boost, not a crew trainer, marginally worse than the tech tree version, but you would be trading it in for a tank that is fantastic. In the right hands, this tank is fantastic, but you do need to be good at ATGMs. So there you go, guys. That is my summary of the trade-in, trade-up list, the entire trade-in event that will be running next week. I've given you my opinion on it, but it's up to you guys. You decide whether or not you want to take part in this trade-in event. Alright guys, that's all I've got for this video. If you've enjoyed it, please leave it a like, if not a dislike. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one.